Hello, everyone. Bob here. Today we're going to talk about the Star Wars sequel trilogy, and I'm going to basically get into what I think about each film and some things I would have done differently, and uh, go on from there, similar to how I did for the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. I want to start out by saying I do not hate these films. I know a substantial portion of the internet community seems to, and that's fine. Like I say, opinions are subjective. There is no right or wrong answer. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Um, I want to start off with The Force Awakens, and I had a lot of fun watching that movie in the theater. I saw it 4 times in the cinema, which I saw all of them 4 times in the cinema. I saw it both ways, 3D and regular. And one of the biggest complaints I hear about this one is that it's too nostalgia driven or it's a ripoff of episode 4. As for the nostalgia part of it, I think the 10 years that passed after Revenge of the Sith and how everyone regarded those prequel films, I think there needed to be a certain amount of nostalgia compared to the prequels, just a certain amount of nostalgia to draw people back in. I mean, you're going to have a certain degree of that anyway, bringing back Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher for the first time in since '83's Return of the Jedi. But it's I liked it was fun picking out the different things, like when uh, at the beginning of the film when Max von Sydow's character talks about the general, but to him, she's royalty. You know, nods like that are good. The garbage will do when I go over to the Millennium Falcon. The fact that the bridge thing that Han and Kylo Ren go out on here towards the end, uh, before Kylo Ren ultimately kills his dad, that's was a nice nod to Empire, because that's kind of how the setting made it feel. It reminded you a lot of that place in Empire when where Luke had his hand chopped off by Vader on Bespin. Um, the when Finn is looking for something, there's a scene where he's looking for something. I can't remember if it's the part where he's looking for the bandage for Chewie, or when he's look. I'm pretty sure that's when it is. He finds the little training device that Luke was using in A New Hope, and it's just nods like that that I really liked. Could I have done without it being another quote unquote Death Star? Yeah, it would have been nice to have had some kind of a different style base, but did it break the movie going experience for me? No. Uh, as for it being a loose remake of Episode 4, or the original, whatever you want to call it, I didn't come away feeling like it was. And I mean, I know several story beats are repeated, but I mean, yeah, you had a character who was from a desert planet, had mysterious abilities, and without any real training, she shot to. Was able to accomplish great things, and she helped the rebellion, or in this case, the resistance, take out the big bad planet killing, or in this case, system killing base. Uh, yeah, kind of. When you look at it that way, it is kind of a repeat. But I didn't. I don't know. It's a slippery slope as to how in my opinion, Disney needed to play it safe with this movie. It was the first movie that they had made in the franchise, and they had just spent over $4 billion buying it. They needed to play it somewhat safe, and ultimately, they delivered an enjoyable movie going experience. Like I say, it was the most fun I'd had in years. Are there things I would do differently? Yes. For one thing, I mean, I would have rather seen Han live, but that didn't break the movie for me. Uh, I would have liked there to have been a different type of a base, not another Death Star or another trench run, so to speak. Sorry about that. Someone was at the door. But is Rey a Mary Sue? Well, you could make an argument that in each of the generations, the original trilogy, Luke seems to be capable of stuff that he shouldn't be. Because let's face it, he really doesn't have much training between from this from Yoda there on Dagobah before he goes and faces Vader. I mean, I know he kind of figures out, and it's in some of the expanded canon about how he learns how to use the Force, and like at the beginning of Empire when he calls the lightsaber to him. I get that, and that's fine. I do read the expanded canon, although I'm not as up on it as I probably should be. Because quite frankly, I have always read Star Wars books. Some of them good, a lot of them bad. But that's another thing. A lot of people get mad because they ignored the original EU. It's now called the Legends timeline. That didn't really bother me that much because, in my view, it gave them an opportunity to pick different elements that they thought was the best and they could bring it back in. Because when I read through the Star Wars stuff, I mean, yeah, as a kid I liked it. I tried to go back and read some of that stuff as I got older and thought a lot of it was poorly written. Not judging the authors or anything. I mean, they're published authors. Kudos to them. That takes something to accomplish that much. But they aren't the kind of books that you could pick up and read over and over again, or a lot of them aren't. There are some. The Timothy Zahn Thrawn books are some of the best and always will be, in my opinion. But there's some of that stuff, storylines get so convoluted and so twisted, you're just kind of like, okay. But I digress. But I'll get more into that here in a minute. But would it have been nice to have had Luke be the father of Kylo Ren or Ben Solo instead of Han and Leia? Yeah, because you'd have had Ben from the books, but I mean, that's ticky-tacky. I would have preferred Luke actually been in this movie a lot more. You could have gotten more interaction between Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford. But, again, just minor little complaints that I have. But, really, that's all I really have to critique about The Force Awakens.